Welcome to another Street Neat video. Now, I wasn't very sure I was going to make a video at all this week. However, some parts have turned up during the week. It's Sunday. We've been having some pretty wild weather. And I thought, you know what? I might just try and carry on and get a little bit more fabrication done. So what I'm going to show you this week is a couple of the parts that have shown up. And I'm also going to show you a little bit of some of the repairs I've been doing with some more cast welding. I'll bring you in and we'll have a closer look. Okay, I'll start at this end. Now we are replacing the single phase motor and putting this back to 3-phase, which means I can do away with the original forward reverse box. And on top of that, I'll bring you down here and see if the camera will pick it up. I can do away with the box down there. This box down here, I'm probably just going to leave the thing bolted on, but I'll take all the wiring off. And so that's not in the way. And friend just dropped off, my electrician friend just dropped off a new forward reverse and emergency stop. So this will replace that. I'll make a new mount for there. And the other things that have turned up is my spinner handle. See in the time-lapse videos of how I fit that on. And once again, these parts, if you've not been following, have got to be zinc plated because they're obviously going rusty. Now the other one I will be covering is my carriage wheel, and I'll show how this came off, and I'll show how that was welded all back together. This is cast iron and wasn't a wonderful casting, a little bit rough. The accident damage from when it tipped over bent it out of shape slightly. I've been able to get it pretty close. I'm pretty happy with that. And at the risk of repeating myself and viewers telling me I'm repeating myself and talk too much, I will be ordering another one of these spinner handles and I will drill it out. I'll see what thread size turns up and I'll drill this out and I'll add the spinner handle. And yeah, let's cut to it. And This week's going to be a little bit less talking and an actual short video, as much as I'm going to aim for, because I don't really have time to sit there and do a big video like I normally do. It's all progress, and this is what people want to see. They want to see progress and things being fixed. Okay, let's get into it. Rightio. This is the carriage wheel that was broken into 3 pieces, all welded back together. I have, at the moment, welded up the hole for the spinner handle. I'm going to order another spinner handle from Temu. The last one cost me $8. Pretty pleased with how all this all welded up again. And once again, it doesn't carry a lot of force. It's not a structural part as such. It's just simply a carriage wheel for winding the carriage backwards and forwards, and that works. You may have seen in the time lapse some of this plating coming off in the bead blasting cabinet. It's one of those things I never know how it's going to go until I'm doing it. I think this is nickel plating. I don't think it's chrome plating. It's over a copper base. The glass bead blasting hits it, then it heats that up and distorts it, and then it's just like pulling skin off sunburn. It comes off pretty easy. So that was a bit of a win there as well. These wheels are a rough sand casting, and I've probably got it a little bit carried away cleaning it up, because I was just getting rid of some of the rough castings. I'll see if I can show the camera. I'll come in pretty close. This is the weld, and I use stainless this time after heating it up, and this is a stainless rod. I've forgotten the number for the stainless rod. A viewer recommended that I try stainless rod, and I thought, actually, yeah, I sort of recall someone saying that once before, and it was a really good suggestion, so thank you for that. I could still have done it like I've done the other wheel and bits and pieces with just normal filler rod. Once again, get it nice and hot, keep the heat into it. I've used the TIG welder this time as opposed to the MIG, obviously, because I'm using stainless filler rod, and that's a pretty pleasing result. You can't buy these wheels anywhere. I wouldn't know where to begin to look. So once again, it hasn't cost me anything other than a few hours on a Sunday, and pretty pleasing result. So that's another item ready to go back on. I will possibly send this away to my friends for zinc plating, just to give it some sort of a coating on here, and the rest of it I will paint. And mostly so it just doesn't go rusty, because this is bare metal now and it will just rust. The zinc plating isn't wonderful, but it will be better than nothing at all. And or I just might paint the whole lot, I don't know. We'll wait and see. That is that part done.